this week we're in Sparta, Wisconsin at Crawford's Antique Mall, and I'm with my friend Artie, and we're gonna go exploring to see what kind of treasures we can find here today. Hey all you colorful sprinkles, I'm finally back with another episode. I know it's been kind of an every other week thing, but we're gonna start to get more frequent again. But without further ado, let's explore. Walking in, the walls are covered in DVDs, but I am here for some other stuff right now, so I'm not gonna stop and shuffle through the DVDs. This is a sheet of Star Trek Uncut collector cards, which they're pretty hard to find uncut. Some old school NES games, I recognize some of them. Of course, they've got Hot Wheels and all sorts of beer steins. Beer steins are very common around here, especially with Oktoberfest coming up. Some cute miniatures. Lots of thimbles. And if you're into collector cards, they have all sorts of, they have like baseball, they had football, they had soccer and hockey. And then of course you've got the collector's cups. I heard McDonald's is going to be releasing some soon, so I'll have to get my hands on like the Hello Kitty one and the Shrek one. I think those are the ones I want to go for. Lots of jewelry. Are these Braveheart action figures? Very weird. Lots of baseball and football cards. Hummel dolls. I like this cute clown one in the back there. One of the cabinets had a bunch of Peter Pez dispensers, my favorite, the clown one, and they had it in yellow and blue, which were the ones I was missing, so I took both of those, and that's a cool first find for this trip. If you're new here or just finding my channel for the first time, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button. It lets me know you like what I do, and it also lets you know when I'm making new videos. 95% of you aren't subscribed, so let's see if we can make that subscriber count boost a little bit. I'm actually considering getting one of these Farrah faucet cups just so I can tell someone to drink out of the faucet. Ooh, I like these spooky cat candle holders. And what might be the world's smallest violins.
Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
I instantly recognize this Samantha American Girl doll. My mom has the exact same one. I'm curious as to how many of you know the name of the California Raisin singer. Put it in the comments if you know. I work for a company that makes a lot of replacement parts for these pressed steel cars, but it was also neat to see something other than these pressed steel cars. If you look up, there's the DeLorean. Looking around the store, I noticed this coffin which stood out to me. I'm gonna have to ask the owner about that later. This case has a lot of breweriana in it, but one of the things that caught my eye were these lighters. I love big table lighters. They also had some smaller ones as well. And then on top of that were some comic books. I wish I knew something about comic books. I don't know much, so I don't know what to look for when it comes to collecting these things, but very cool to see. And I also wish I had a UV light because I want to know if any of these marbles have uranium in them. I'm assuming that's why they're priced a little different. Crawford's has a lot of knives and hunting stuff, and one of my favorite things in the knife case are these little knife hands. They're kind of like Wolverine claws. They look really cool. And then next to those were throwing knives. There's lots of dolls and bears on these shelves, but one of my favorite things is the Mickey phones and the Goofy and Donald phone that are up there. I always love novelty phones. They also had some mini books like this Dick Tracy book and Tarzan. Some novelty playing cards as well. Oh, and what's this? Siegfried and Roy Mastering the Impossible autographed book. That's really cool. One of the shelves was actually covered with a bunch of Norman Rockwell sculpture things, which you usually don't see this many of them together, but they had a whole collection. Also, a lot of non-novelty phones. These are more of like the kind you would have around your house. I really like the pastel ones. These ones probably are useless now, but they're very cool decorative phones. One thing Artie and I both said was this store is perfectly organized. Every shelf had its own organization and everything on it just belonged together. It was really nice and it made it really easy to look through. These are some player piano papers. They had the original boxes as well. I'm curious to know, does anyone know what this device is? I see something over on this table that I'm pretty familiar with from my job at work. This is a Gen 3 My Little Pony, and I believe this one is called Star Surprise. And this Gen 3 pony I believe is called Luau. And this is a Gen 1 pony called Sweet Stuff, and it's one of the twinkled-eyed variations. Imagine taking home this organ. You could pretend to be the Phantom of the Opera. I wish I had room for one of these writer desks. They're really pretty. Okay, this mannequin scared the bejesus out of me, and then I realized it was a mannequin and not a human walking around the store. A little bit frightening. It's hard not to get overwhelmed with just how much stuff is here, but because it's all organized, it really helps make it less overwhelming. I remember my grandma having one of these Christmas trees. How many of you had grandparents that had these laying around their house? This vase has such a unique color scheme. I really like it. As a magician and fan of Houdini, you kinda gotta love these trunks. They remind me of the Metamorphosis trunk that Houdini would use. I really wanted to take home this clown doll, but unfortunately the case is more expensive than the doll itself and they come with each other, so I'm gonna have to hold off on that. But I really do like the idea of putting a clown doll in a case like that. Just makes it a little extra spooky. Artie fell in love with these salt and pepper shakers. I honestly think he should just start collecting them because he's always pointing them out to me at different antique stores. And speaking of salt and pepper shakers, how many of you get this joke? This one says I'm full of S and I'm full of P. I think they're a play on words, but they're definitely salt and pepper shakers. I love the novelty of them. I was perusing these Pez dispensers when I also noticed something out of the corner of my eye. These clowns in bags. I really wanted them, but they were $5 and I can get them a lot cheaper at Goodwill. I see them all the time, and that's usually where I get my clowns from. There's a lot of these collector cups, but I didn't really see anything of a franchise that I really like, so I'm gonna hold off on them. I know though that I definitely love this bottle here. It's kind of an Atomic Age style bottle. I believe it's Tab. Also, what the hell is this? Moving on, I also found this bottle from the Home and Co-op Creamery Association. I don't see these too often, but it's a cool piece of local history. Artie found this big bird who has definitely seen some things. If you're a collector of Hot Wheels, this is definitely a place to go because they had so many. I mean, when I'm talking so many, I mean hundreds. And this one was kind of cool. It had a floppy disk in it, which kind of ages it a bit. Another unusual find in this Hot Wheels section is a car with country music star LeAnn Rimes on it. I did not expect to see that there, but they had it. Now, if you're a bit of a speed demon, you might like this Harley Davidson lamp, or maybe you had a childhood bed that you recognize here. I don't know, maybe some of you had it. I remember my sister having this Nutcracker Ken doll, and his hair looks exactly the same. I love handheld games, and it was really cool to see this McDonald's one working. You never really see these in working condition. Right next to that, Artie found these cool old Barbie books. Kind of vintage looking. I love the artwork. I was so surprised to see this old Mickey doll in good condition, and then I realized it was a reproduction and it was kind of like a re-release for Disney's anniversary. Section actually had a lot of vintage Disney though. It had this cool coin bank. It was really heavy, made out of steel or metal or something. It was really heavy, kind of old looking, and it says it was made in the 1960s. As a collector of Red Skeleton, I might actually have to come back and get these little coasters. They're kind of cute, and they got Freddy Freeloader on them. I love going through junk because you never know what you're going to find. This one was really interesting. It's an old composition book from the 30s, and it's someone's journal. Imagine someone just finding their personal journal in an antique store. It's got to be crazy. You can hear stories from that time period. Alright, who's played Rock'em Sock'em Robots? I don't know if this is a vintage one or a newer reproduction. I also found these bugs, and we know who's gonna love those. Yep. Have you heard of the minion theory before? There's a theory that once you hear of the minion theory, you're going to see minions every single day for the rest of your life. So you're welcome for that. I like this retro NES quick picture. Ooh, and some vintage light switches? Those would look so beautiful in a house. They just don't make things like they used to, that's for sure. I know this is a little out of place, but they had some Pokemon cards on the table, and folks, just because the Pokemon cards are shiny doesn't mean they're rare, so I put them back. They weren't rare at all. They're fairly new. Adventures of Ronald McDonald. Trading cards. Interesting. On my way out the door, I asked the owner what the story was on this coffin. He said they found it in the basement of a church. It's for a child, and it was lined with straw. So that's kind of cool. It's a neat find, and it'd make a cool coffee table in someone's house. Thank you all so much for watching this episode. Next week, we're continuing our trip in Sparta to go look at another antique store. We'll see you then. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so that you can see more videos when I post them. I'll see you next time.